Hi, in this video I want to guide you through creating a simple bot that is intended to help you booking flights. So I'm starting Botpress in my terminal. I'm navigating to the dashboard and I'm creating a new bot. So first thing, I need to add its name and let it be like this. So the bot template here is an empty bot because we are building a custom bot and we do not need any logic that is in other templates. Okay, so now I'm within the flow editor of the new bot that we just created. And let's think about the logic that we want to cover here. The logic here would be quite simple. We will try to recognize users' intents, and if it is to book the flight, we will try to extract data that are relevant to our flight, like destination city and the city where users departs from. And then we might do some actions, and in our case, we'll just output a message based on the data that we gathered. So let's get started. First thing that we need to do here is to add an intent. An intent is a part of understanding section, and I'm navigating here. So an intent in our name, in our case, would be a flight. This name is something that we will be using later on in the code, so you can put any name here that you need to. For the intent that we've just created, we need to add a few utterances so that NLU module of Botpress knows that phrases that user enters may be like some of these utterances, and then it might understand that this is actually this flight intent. Okay, so what kind of phrases can user say? He might say something like, I want to fly to Paris. I want to book a flight. And then I want to fly from London to Paris. Okay. You might enter much more utterances here depending on which cases you want to cover. Alright, so we might now rely on this intent. So let's go to the flow editor and build some logic based on this. So we start with this entry node, and within this entry node we might do something. And what we might do is we might check whether user has a flight intent. So to do that, I'm navigating to raw expression. And then I'm comparing the name of the intent that the system might recognize with the name that we saved, which is flight. And then I add two transitions. One of them for the case when intent name is flight, and the other transition will be always. This way, if the first condition is true, we will transition to one of the parts of the flow, and if it is not true, then this otherwise condition will get executed. Okay. I'm adding another node so that I can cover these cases. So let's cover first this otherwise condition. What can we do if user's intent is not flight? We might say something like, hi, we are not covering other use cases, and we need to send this message to the user. To do that, I need to use this say something action, and then I need to create this message. I don't have any messages here, so I'm navigating to create text, and then I am typing it in. Okay. So this way, the bot will answer and handle the case that we are not currently handling. You can build logic to make it more complex anyways, and this is a simple one. Okay, and then what do we do if user actually wants to book a flight? Now we want to extract data from his text. To do that, we need bot to understand that this London is the city where user starts from, where he departs, and that Paris is the destination city. And so we have this thing like a city, which NLU currently doesn't know about, and we need to make it know about it. And this can be achieved through entities tab. I'm navigating to it, and I'm creating this entity. I'll call it city, and it is of a type list, which means that I'll have to enter the list of the cities that NLU model will work with. The pattern one is not something that we need now, but it allows you to match something based on a pattern or regular expression. Okay, so we mentioned two cities here. It is Paris and it's London. Okay. Okay. And now, when we have this entity, we can create a slot. Actually, we need two slots here. First of them will be a from city. And an entity is list city. The other one will be to city. Also the list city entity. Okay, so now I'm trying to associate these phrases with the entities. I can do this by highlighting the word that I want to be treated as an entity, and then by navigating via my arrow keys, I can select which entity it is. So now this is a from London, so this is a from city. I press enter, then I highlight Paris, it's to city, and then here we only have to city. Okay. Okay. So this way we've made NLU model to understand that this is not just a phrase that is associated with flight intent, but it also has some data that can be extracted from it. And some of the intents don't have this data, like this one. And some of the intents have this data partially. Okay? All right. So let's say user enters a phrase that has entities. If it has entities, we need to extract it here. So on enter into this node, we want to save entities, which means we need to execute code. So we have this actions thing here, and we can use a built-in action called setVariable for this purpose. It has three parameters that we need to set. First thing is type of our variable. We have three types. It's session, temp, and a bot. Okay, for one, there is a user one either. We will not cover all of them within this video. I'll only cover the temp one, and how it is used is that it will be reset when the flow gets to an end. The session one won't be reset when the flow gets to an end, and it may be persisted during the session, which may last like for 20 minutes or maybe a few hours, and this is configurable within Botpress. Okay, so the temp variable name will be called from city, and the value that we want to put here will be extracted from a variable called event. Okay, you can see I'm putting here curly braces, which means that Botpress will understand that this is not a regular text for this parameter, like here or here, and this is a variable that it needs to replace. So within event we have this NLU key, which has slots subkey, and which has our slots that we've created, and one of them is from city, and it may have a value. Okay. Okay. I can do the same for the to city. To do it faster, I may just copy this one. So I press copy, then I paste, and then I update this a little bit, like to city, and then here the slot is also to city. Okay. Okay, so let me arrange this a bit differently, like this, so that we have more space here. Okay, so what we've covered now is that if user enters a phrase that has these entities, then we may extract them and save them into variables. But there can be a situation when user enters the phrase that doesn't have any of these entities, like this one, I want to book a flight, or it may only have one of these entities. So what do we need to do? We need all of these entities, obviously, to book a flight. So let's handle situation when some of these variables are absent. I'm adding a transition now. And then let's handle these variables one by one. So I'm adding a node. Within this node, I'll be checking whether we have a temp from city variable here. If we do, this gets evaluated as a regular JavaScript. So if there is something there, then this will be evaluated to true, and then it will be one transition. I'll add another transition that will be always one. So we are handling two cases: if we have this from city variable or if we not. So if we don't have this from city variable, then we need to get it somehow. And so for this, I'm creating another node. And within that node, I'll be asking user for this data. So I'm creating another text message. And I'm saying him, which city are you departing from? Please type its name. Okay. So once user gets this message, user will need to enter something, and we need to save the input of the user. How do we do that? We have this on receive, and we may put some logic here, and this logic will be to save this variable. So I again execute the code. I navigate to this storage set variable, and then here I set this variable, which is temp from city, and then the value here would be the text that user enters, which gets saved in event payload.text. Okay. And then if we are done with that, we may transition to next part of the node, of the flow. Okay, let's wire these things together. And we have a handling for this first variable called from city. Let's do the same thing for the to city. Okay. Again, another node. Again, checking whether it is there. Again, asking whether we asking user to enter this destination city. And then again, saving it into variable via set variable action. Okay, so this event payload text is the same thing that we used across both nodes. We have it here when we are saving the to city variable, and here where we are saving a from city variable. So the thing here is that this is dynamic thing. The nodes that are highlighted with yellow are nodes that are waiting for user input, and this input gets saved into those places called event payload text. So here this will be a payload text that user enters within this node, and here this is another text that user inputs within this part of the flow. Okay, so I'm adding another transition here. At this point, we should definitely have both variables. We should have from city and to city, either based on the input that user entered initially and that we extracted via slots, or by asking user and making him type those names into the system. So if we have these, we might do something, and this might be actual logic of booking the ticket. In our case, we are just outputting this to the user. So we might just output to him that we are booking a ticket and show those variables. Yes, so within the text we can enter variables, which I've just done. They are also in curly braces, and this is the way how we can output them. Okay, so let's save the flow and try our bot in action. So first thing is, let's say that we know only where we want to fly at the beginning. So I'm typing that I want to fly to Paris. Okay, it asks me to type the name where from. Let's say it's London. Okay, I'll book a ticket for you from London to Paris. Okay, let's say that we send to user that we are sending to the bot data that includes both cities. So I want to fly from Berlin to Paris. Okay, it didn't recognize Berlin, maybe because it is not within the list of NLU module, and it asks me to enter it. Berlin to Paris. Okay, let's try one where we have London, which our NLU module is aware of. Okay, so it gets handled, and we sent correct data to the user. Okay, maybe let's test a way where we are not sending any entities to the user, to the bot. Okay, it asks me which city I'm running from. So it's Berlin. Destination city is Amsterdam. And it gets saved. Okay, so it seems our simple bot works, and we've covered the way how we may work with entities, slots, and intents here, some basic data within the flows, and hope this will be helpful for you within your bots. Thank you for watching us.